Welcome back to the Happy Campers interview series. Today, really fun. I've been talking to all these different camp directors about the social and emotional growth that kids experience at summer camp. And this happens at all different kinds of camps. I have been talking in the series thus far to residential camps. And today I'm really excited because I have my first day camp. And I'm excited to talk to Jeff Gamble from Jefunira Camp because he runs a day camp where kids get the same kind of social and emotional benefits that they get at these different resident camps that I've been talking to. So, Jeff, welcome to your Happy Campers interview.
Well, thank you for having me. Looking forward to this. I'm a little nervous. I know this is going out and going to stay out there, but I'm really excited. So thank you for including me.
Sure, it's my pleasure. I'm so glad to be connected. I just found out before we started here that we were at Stanford at the same time, but didn't know each other there.
Yeah, a small world.
Yes. Jeff, why don't you just start by telling a little bit about your background and how you got interested in starting this camp? You're the founder and owner director of Jefunira Camp. So why don't you talk a little bit about yourself and what brought you into this field?
Absolutely. Well, there was a fair amount of serendipity that led to my being here. My plans as I was middle school, high school, even college did not include running a day camp. My intention was to become a doctor. My father's a doctor. That's what I knew. I went to university fully intending on being a doctor, did pre-med. But through high school and through college, I worked at camps. And I just found that that's where I was most happy. I loved everything about camp. I loved working with kids. And after graduating, my college roommate, we met freshman year, Ira, we both decided we wanted to take some time off. We didn't want to go right into graduate school, nor did I want to go work in a lab. He didn't want to go do some type of internship. So we were trying to figure out what would be the most entertaining thing to do for a year off that would hopefully help us not have to crawl back to our parents asking for rent money. And we had both worked at camps. We had gone to camps. And let's start a camp. We knew we liked it. So the first summer, there were 8 kids, and the 2 of us, and we absolutely loved it. It was a blast. And then the following summer, we did it again. The camp grew more, doubled in size. We hired our first counselor. It was the 3 of us working together. And initially, we had a different name, but we found that we couldn't own it. And everyone had called the camp Jeff and Ira Camp because we did everything. We started it, and with a little bit of creative thinking, we sort of smushed it all together. Jeff Fun Ira. It had fun in the middle of the name, and our camp is focused on play. And it's just, over the years, it's grown very organically. We've learned throughout the years what we like, how to improve it. Several years ago, Ira decided he wanted to go back to college or back to school, and he's now a professor at Stanford. We very amicably dissolved the business. I took it over, and I've been running it for the past 28 years. And I still wake up every morning really grateful that this is what I get to do. I love everything about working in the camping world and working with kids, working with the counselors, and now meeting people like you and finding out about the broader camping world has been just as entertaining and educational.
Well, I think it will be informative for parents to understand that you are a Stanford pre-med educated person running this camp. And I think that's so terrific because I think sometimes people don't realize the background behind people who are running some of these amazing programs. So, so what year did you actually start? What year was that very first summer with 8 kids?
1991.
Okay.
8 kids, and just grown incrementally from there.
So why don't you talk about Jefunira today, where you're located, the ages that you serve, and how long kids generally come to camp for?
Absolutely. I'm going to start with our sessions because I think we're a bit unique in this area. We offer 2-week sessions, and a day camp is a little different than a residential camp because the kids are only there for really a small fraction of each day. And a 1-week session, that's 5 days. I think camp is very much a social experience. It's about the connection kids make. And even 2 weeks, 10 days seems very short, but we believe very firmly in the value of a 2-week experience to really accentuate the social emotional growth of each child, and the enjoyment of the experience. So Jefunira Camp is built around 2-week sessions. We're located in Northern California, Palo Alto, Stanford area. And our programming it's really based upon play and diversity. We do a little bit of everything. I mean, most of what we do is outdoor and active. We try to send everyone home happy and tired. But we also do cooperative play. We have a lip sync performance at the end of each session. We do crafts. We do simple cooking. We do special activity days, camp carnival days, water play. It's really the breadth of activities that we can come up with that defines our programming.
And I think one of the things that I think is important for parents to understand is that this is different from like a daycare or some other kind of setting where it's just, you can kind of come and go, or it's certain days. And so that intentionality about your programming is really important. Talk about how the groups or how the kids do activities, and also how old you have boys and girls, and what age do you start at and go to?
So our youngest campers are 4-year-olds, and we call that our junior camper program. And we view that program very much as you view kindergarten. So kindergarten is learning the social skills to enter school, or at least I think it should be. Now it seems there's a lot of academics in it, but kindergarten is really about socialization. And the junior group is about learning to be at camp, learning to share adult attention, learning to manage conflict, learning to manage transition, learning how to separate from adults. So that's our youngest program, is our 4 and 5-year-old. Our day camper program is our entering first to entering 6th graders. And it's a co-ed program. We try to balance the groups based upon many considerations. We have what we call our CIT Leadership Program. Those are 7th, 8th, and 9th graders. They're campers in our program. So our job is the same as with the day campers. We want to keep them safe and give them a fun experience. But because of their age, we introduce a leadership component, and we change the nature of the programming. We have what we call a junior counselor program, and it admittedly is a bit of a misnomer because they are still considered campers, even though the program has the name counselor in it. They're still considered campers in our program, but the leadership training ramps up for kids in that age group. And I'll back up. The CIT program are kids entering 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. Okay. And then the 10th, 11th, and 12th graders are the ones who are in our junior our junior counselor program. And we've had kids go from kindergarten all the way through the junior counselor program into the actual counselor position that they become eligible for once they graduate high school. It's all, as I said, it's co-ed. We draw primarily from the surrounding communities. We found in the Bay Area, families don't travel too far for summer programs. So I would say 95% of our families come from within maybe a 15-mile radius of our camp. But we do see people. We have people coming from overseas, and people who just see the value in what we do and are willing to travel further for their kids to share the type of experience that we offer.
So do parents like drop off or carpool to get kids to and from camp? And what are the hours? Like, when do kids get there, and how long is the day?
Our day is 9 to 3. We offer extended care. So for some campers, the day can run from 8 to 6. And a lot of families choose to or need to take advantage of that. So we recognize the challenges of a 9 to 3 day for some parents. So we offer extended care. Most of the campers are driven to camp, but because we are fairly hyper local in terms of our draw, we also get a lot of campers who will bike to camp. We try, one of our efforts is to become a more green operation. And one of our heaviest carbon footprints is found in the commuting of parents to camp. So we've tried to promote carpooling. It's still an effort. We have not cracked the code on that. But we'd love to see more people biking, walking, carpooling, just so that we can continue to be a part of a more green, sustainable lifestyle for the entire community.
Sure. Well, where is your camp actually located? Is it at a school or a park, or where do you actually do your camp?
We are always in a school, in elementary school. So we've been in the Palo Alto Unified School District for our entire existence. We move from school to school depending upon where summer school is held or what construction projects are done. So I think in our history, we've been at 11 of the 13 schools within the district. So we're very flexible. We're very good at packing up and moving. But it's great being at an elementary school because it's configured for kids. It's got a fantastic field to play on. You have the blacktop space. You have a multi-purpose room. The sites are accessible. We have a very inclusive camp. We want our campership to as accurately reflect our community as possible. So having an accessible campus is very important to us. And being in a public school, they're ADA compliant, so it's wonderful for us. We use the classrooms. We enjoy the shade under the tree. But an elementary school is really set up wonderfully to accommodate everything that we want to do. And I will say I am very, very appreciative to the superintendent, the principal, the teacher, the parents within our school district who year after year have welcomed us back. You know, a lot of our success comes from the fact that people welcome us in. So that's my little shout out to Palo Alto School District for so graciously hosting us for so many years.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it's funny, as you were talking, I was thinking about how I think people before they go to a camp, whether it's a day or resident camp, really are focused on like the facilities or where it's located. But you and I both know that really what's most important is what's happening there, like the philosophy and your staff training and what you're doing with the kids. So why don't you talk about, you mentioned earlier about sending kids home. Your words were tired and happy.
Yep.
What are, like, when you're philosophically and when you're training your staff, what are some of the outcomes, those great life skills, character traits that you're really intentionally working on at Jefunira?
Yeah, I'm going to pick one. I think a well-run program focuses on multiple tiers of growth for the children there, and camp provides a fantastic opportunity, particularly a play-based camp, because play is such a powerful learning environment. But for us, self-esteem has always been something that we focused on. And if you'll indulge me, I'll share what I hope will be a quick story. If it goes on too long, rein me in. When I was young, one of my closest friends from college, his father ran a consulting company and ran programs working with at-risk kids. And he invited me to come volunteer at one of the programs. And a few days before, I flew out and was having dinner with him. And he's a very impressive and slightly intimidating man. Sat down with him at dinner, and he looked straight in the eye and said, "What's the difference between self-confidence and self-esteem?" And I couldn't articulate the difference. And I thought about it. I knew it was all about believing in yourself, feeling good about yourself, but I really couldn't articulate the difference. And he looked at me and he said, "There's a huge difference." He says, "Self-confidence is the belief you can do something. And that varies. And it should vary. People, it's okay to doubt yourself. You push through that." He said, "Self-esteem is the belief that you're a good person, the belief that you're a worthy person." He said, "In an ideal world, that never varies. No child should ever believe that they're not a good person." And that really stuck with me. And I thought about why I enjoyed working with kids so much. And part of it is I just love running around. I love doing all the activities. But what I really like about working with kids, and it remains true to this day, this moment, is I like watching a child's self-esteem grow. Sometimes I'll call a kid over. I'll be out in the field and I'll holler for them to come over. And they're always a bit nervous. "Jeff's calling me over. What's what's going on. And I'll pull them in. I'll just whisper in there, you know, hey, I saw you share the ball with Audrey. She hadn't gotten it. That was really nice. Thank you for doing that. And that child actually literally stands taller walking away. And the ability to help kids see that they are each special and valuable, and people recognize that, that's what I've always enjoyed about working with kids. And I wasn't able to put into words before that experience with my friend's father, but I've held on to that. And in everything we do, we want to make sure that we are not missing an opportunity to help a child develop their self-esteem. They leave. So when I say leave happy, really what I mean is they leave knowing that they are a special person, that they're a good person. And we do that through a lot of our intentional actions, a lot of our training. You know, when you look at ways to develop self-esteem, one of the first things you see very often is give kids choices. Let them make choices. Well, ironically and somewhat counterintuitively, in our program, kids don't get to make choices about what activities they're doing. They get a schedule, and if it says art, they're doing art. If it says tag, they're doing tag. But within those activities, there is a huge amount of opportunity for choice. And it falls upon the counselors to recognize what are the different ways that this child can be involved in this activity. How can they feel a part of it? How can they feel included? And that's where the choice comes in. And once we create all the different roles and let each camper find the role that works for them, we've then created the opportunity for them to maybe step into a different role. You know, big, very active, loud field game. They might not feel comfortable stepping out in the midst of 120 kids running around, crazy, you know, balls flying everywhere, people running at them. They're much more comfortable standing on the outside and assessing it and finding part. And over time, as they become more comfortable in that role, maybe they'll take a few steps into the activity, take on a different role. Maybe pretty soon they're in the middle of the field running around themselves, and that ball gets thrown at them or to them, and they drop it. Maybe they drop it every time it goes to them, and it doesn't matter. They're still a part of it. Everyone's around. They're having fun. They're laughing. They're running. They're playing. And that child realizes it's not about how well they do something. It's about being part of it. And it starts with the counselors creating a role that welcomes the camper in. Another example is you and I were talking. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and I think especially when you're thinking about like some of the younger kids that you have, I think that kids often wouldn't sign themselves up for an activity that they don't feel confident in. And so I'm sure there's a lot of value for that kid who is nervous about tag or a ball sport or art or whatever to get out there and just use some creativity. And like you said, they probably stand a little taller when they're like, wow, I did this new thing, or I overcame this, or I figured it out. So I think there's a lot of value too in exposing kids to some new activities and things, because oftentimes they discover something that they didn't know they would like and that would make them feel good. So I like that you do that. Plus, I'm assuming, are they with their group? So there's also the social aspect of bonding with their group.
They're with their the groups do this, and they're with the same counselor. So we don't have specialized counselors. Whatever the activity is, the counselors are leading it. Okay. And we do that very intentionally. And I tell the counselor, I often have a counselor, but I'm not good at that. And my response is fantastic. That's great. It's so important that campers see you doing something you're not good at and see you having fun with it and being confident about it. And I tell them, if you're going to go through life only doing things you're good at, you're not going to have a very fun life. You're not going to have a very rich life. And I love surfing, and I'm a terrible surfer. And one of my happy places is just sitting on a surfboard between sets. And I might be out there for a whole run, and I get up on the board once or twice. I mean, I really am not a good surfer, and I don't care because I love it. And I'm able to get out there and enjoy it because I don't say I have to be good at it. And what we want kids to realize, you don't have to be good at something to have fun. You don't have to be good at something to be a part of it. And your sense of worth is not based upon how well you do something. Just being a part of it, having those connections, that's where the self-esteem grows. So
Sure.
just as you said, we want to put kids in situations where they're stepping outside of their comfort zone, where maybe their self-confidence isn't so high. I don't know if I can do this. And to realize it doesn't matter. I can have fun with it, and everybody still likes me. All of my friends, after I did that activity and dropped the ball 3 times, or I couldn't catch the person who was freeing the jail, and everyone got out, and we go to snack time, and I'm still sitting with my friends, and we're still laughing, and I'm included. I think you're exactly right. There's so much value in pushing kids into situations that they otherwise wouldn't choose to enter, activities that they wouldn't want to try. And sometimes they realize, like me with surfing, I really have fun with this, and I'm not good at it. And that's okay, because I really have fun with it and I'm included. And we do it from our youngest to our oldest campers. And sometimes it's harder with the oldest campers, because they already have the mindset, oh, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm not good at. And we sometimes have to push them. You're going to try it. We only have 3 camp rules. One of our camp rules is called the 5-minute rule. And it simply says everyone tries everything for the first 5 minutes. And for most kids, that in and of itself motivates them to get into the activity. Oh, it's a rule, I have to do it. And of course, once they're in the activity, they forget about that. It's not, I'm just going to do it 5 minutes. They get in and realize they can have fun, even if they're not good. And sometimes they really are good. Oh, I didn't think I could do this, and I'm really good at it. So those are the type of experiences that make kids feel good about themselves and believe in themselves, and create the opportunity for those bonds, that connectivity, that sense of belonging that's so vital to believing in yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So you mentioned it earlier. I think one of the things I really want to make sure we kind of distinguish is, Jefunira as a day camp, you're an accredited camp through the American Camp Association, and you do things really well. Not just because you're accredited, but that's one of the reasons that camps who choose accreditation have determined that they're going to follow a lot of really, good safety and health procedures, also a lot of training for your staff. And I think that really comes out in the way you're talking about what your staff are doing. I also think there's an element that focus on your counselor knows their kids really well. So when they're going to an activity, and if a child is a little hesitant or maybe needs to build their self-esteem, the counselor knows that child. And so whatever they're doing, there's that safety net for that kid. So I love that part of your program. What are some other things that you would say kind of distinguish you from, let's just say, the camp down the street, or just the one that just started this summer? Like, maybe contrast you now to your first summer in 1991.
I don't think I want to go down that road.
Okay. So let's just say, but I think that I feel like one of my it's a little bit of a pet peeve being in the camp industry is, there's a difference between a camp that's established and has been accredited and chosen to be under the umbrella and accreditation and all that, versus the school or the sports club that's opened something and says, we're running a camp, which could be really well run or not, but there's nobody checking. So why don't you talk about some of the things that you hear from families just about what distinguishes Jefunira? What is it that they find when they send their kids to you that's different than other things they've experienced?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a question I get a lot. And the way that it's usually phrased is, why should I send my kid to you as opposed to program X? And I always answer the same way. And I tell you, I don't know program X. Might be a great program. I can't tell you about them. What I can tell you is what we do and what I think makes us unique. And I think there are 3 things that have helped us to be successful for our 28 years. The first is our programming and philosophy, which you and I have touched on a little bit. I think there's tremendous value in play-based programming. And we have incredible intentionality in our programming. So you and I were talking briefly before this, and I mentioned art. Now I'll bring that up as an example. So every group every session does art. And never in our art do we say, okay, here's what you're going to make. Instead, it's here's what we have. Because when you say here's what you're going to make, all you're doing is creating opportunity for failure. Because in a child's mind, well, if I make anything that looks even different, I didn't do it right. But if it's here's what we have, now you've created opportunity for success, because whatever they make is wonderful. Whatever they do is wonderful. So our programming and our philosophy, which includes a large dose of inclusiveness, I think has really defined the experience. The second thing that defines the experience is staff. And I think as all of us in the camp world know, you can have the best programming in the world, the most thought out, but if you don't have the staff to execute it, it's not going to work. I mean, for us, I know that our successes are because of the efforts of our staff. So we work to hire the best people, and people always ask us, how do you screen them? How do you train them? And I answer that, and I say, you're missing a really important question, because you can hire the best people, but if you don't support them, your chance of success is going to go down. So we look at our staff training as beginning several days before camp starts in our pre-camp training, and it goes until the last minute, the last moment that the last camper leaves. We're constantly doing in-services. We're meeting with counselors individually, in their color groups, as a body of staff, and always working on improving. I came across the idea of continuous improvement several years ago, and I was, oh, that's what we're doing. And we're always working to get better. So our staff is absolutely core to our success. The fact that we find good people, we hold them to very high standards, and we support them to reach those standards. And we get buy-in. They know how important they are to the camp experience. They can see how their input changes the camp experience. So we get great buy-in from the staff. The third part of what I think makes us unique was always very hard for me to talk about, and still is a little bit, because I'm basically tooting my own horn. But it comes down to leadership. And when I look at these camps that I really I find so impressive, what I've seen is at the top, there is a leader who has complete buy-in to the mission of that camp and is leading by example. And that's what I try to do. I started the camp. I'm on site almost every day. And I'll go do an ACA visit some days, but I'm there. We've had incredible stability in our leadership team. My co-director has been working with me for 17 years. Our other leadership team members have been with us for 9 and 10 years. And that stability in leadership, that belief in what we're doing, that commitment to ensuring that every camper goes home every day, happy, tired, and excited about coming the next day, I think trickles down, and that motivates the counselors. I think the parents see it, and I think the campers see that I still go out there and run around in the games, not as fast or as long as I used to, and I get caught a lot more in tag games. But I think that stability of leadership and complete buy-in to what we're trying to do organizationally also distinguishes us. So programming philosophy, staff, and leadership are what I think creates the experience that each child has at Jefunira Camp. And as I've looked at other camps, and I'm so impressed. You talked about earlier the story behind other camp owners, and there's an organization called Wake where you and I met.
Yes.
And I became involved in Wake much later in my professional life. I ran camp in almost complete professional isolation for half of its existence. And then I met Wake, and a couple things impressed me. One was the collegiality of the organization. Everybody shares, everybody's working. I mean, one of my closest competitors is the Whipples at Mountain Camp. And I mean, we could almost throw a baseball between each other's site. And if anything ever happened, Don, and I've done this for you, Don is one of the first people I'll call. It's like, Don, I'm stuck here. I need some help. And we, complete support. And so much of that runs through the camping industry that I found. But every time I walk into a room of wake people, I find myself somewhat in awe of how impressive they are and how each of them could have chosen any number of paths and found amazing success in life. And each of them chose to go into the camp world and work with kids and do their bit to make a difference. And I am in awe of that. And like you said, I wish parents had a sense of how many impressive people are out there. And I wish they took the time to really get to know the people who are running the camp. And that's a great way to assess, is this camp going to be a good fit for my child? Talk to the people running it, find out who they are, and just learn how many impressive people there are out there. So I think we do a very good job. I'm really proud of what we do. And a lot of who we are today is because of people like you and other people in Wake who've helped me to grow. It's been a very impressive experience for me from day one to I don't even know how many, or 28 years later. And I still feel like I have so much to learn. And I really enjoy the challenging nature, the dynamic nature of it, and the opportunity that I have to make a difference in a kid's life. I mean, it sounds a little corny saying, but that's what we get to do. And that's pretty special.
Sure. Yeah. Well, wow. You just gave such a good sales pitch for not only Jefunira, but no. So I just want to clarify that what you're saying, the Wake, when you say Wake, it's the Western Association of Independent Camps, which is a really fantastic group, all accredited camp programs who have a lot of experience leadership. And your whole assessment of the 3 reasons that Jefunira is a really solid program and one that parents can feel really comfortable trusting their kids with is because of those very things that distinguish you. And you're right that I think that well-run programs and great leaders seek out the support of other people. And the other thing that I have loved about doing this series and just talking more with camps is that everyone feels the same about their camp, whether like the directors, the people who've worked there a long time, the kids who go there, the staff, every single one of them feels strongly that they work at or go to the very best camp ever in the history of the world. And I love that about our industry, that it's actually true for each person, that their experience is fabulous. And how much more, I mean, I'm a proponent of like going to the same camp, like that loyalty piece, because to me, the experience builds upon itself. Like when you talked about your campers who started when they were little and then have worked their way all the way through and, now they're junior counselors, not to say, yeah. So and so not to say that you don't do other things, but there's a real value in like the kind of program you run to not just go when you're 4 and 5 and have it help you get ready for kindergarten, but to keep going and to grow with the program and develop. So that's really fun. Okay. Anything else that you want to cover that you think people need to know about Jefunira?
Yeah. And I actually think it's a little bit broader than just Jefunira, and I can couch the examples within Jefunira, but it's the value of the day camp experience overall. I grew up actually going to residential camps from a very young age, 6 weeks and then 8 weeks. And day camp was something new to me until I started a day camp. And in college, I did work at a day camp. But I'd like parents to know the real value of day camp and what kids can take away from it and how much growth there can be. We had our annual December ice cream social to mark the opening of enrollment. And we had a parent come whose first child, had been coming to camp for 4 years, and the younger child has not been coming. This is going to be the younger child's first year. And the mother was talking to me about the changes she saw in her son between the start of camp and the end of camp. This was in sessions, not over years, even just within the session. And and she talked about his growth in confidence. And I think, as we started before, I think self-esteem and self-confidence very often go hand in hand. You can, when you believe you're a good person, you often believe you can do more. It gives you that confidence to try things. She talked about how much she saw her son grow even over the 2-week session, and how much he retained, and how it impacted him when he would go back to school, in his relationship with his friends, in his confidence in managing the challenges of whatever academics he was dealing with. And she said that on her younger child, she hadn't seen that, and she was really excited for that child to come to camp. And I think parents sometimes equate day camp with daycare. But a well-run day camp, which I'm going to say we are.
Yes, you are.
There's a lot of intentionality built into everything we do, and a lot of focus on helping every child leave that experience in a more empowered position than they were when they came in. And I love resident camps, and I think those growth opportunities are very apparent in resident camps. But day camps also offer incredible opportunities for kids to grow. And I'd love parents to recognize the value of it. And you were talking, in the summer, it seems like almost everyone puts camp at the name of whatever their entity is. All of a sudden there are now 500 camps around here. But I would tell parents, take the time, really look at what the program offers. What is their goal for each child, and how are they going to accomplish that? And find the program that feels right for you, that your child can enjoy, that you can enjoy. It's equally important that the parents feel comfortable about it. The day camp provides amazing opportunities for kids to grow, to connect, to feel better about themselves. And it also offers community, which again, I think you can see it very easily in a residential camp. But we have kids coming back now, literally from when they were kindergartners to they're in college, and they're seeing some of the same faces. There's that sense of community that is there in a really well-run day camp, and it's so vital that kids experience that. So that would be my plug for the value of day camps within the overall camping world. And all of those things are what we try to do for every camper that we get to spend time with each summer.
Well, that's awesome. And I agree 100%. And I also, speaking from like the residential camp, I think it's really valuable for kids to have several years of day camp experience before coming to resident camp, so they kind of know the whole thing. Also, a lot of campers do both. They'll do a day camp all the way through, and do the CIT camps while also starting a resident camp. So it's not a one thing or the other. I think it's really valuable to think about both depending on your child.
Yeah, and I would say the vast majority of campers, certainly at the later grades, are doing both. There's value for them in the day camp experience, and there's value for them in the residential camp experience. I think for the parent, the challenge is finding that program that's a good fit. And once you find that, then you can expose your child to all of the variety of things that are out there. And I very often tell parents, look at other programs. There are so many other fantastic programs. Let us see them for a month, and then let them experience a residential camp or something else. Yeah, I think summers provide a great opportunity for kids to have several different experiences. I am not a big fan of the 8 different camps in 8 weeks, which we do see a lot. But I think that 2 or 3 camps, and developing your own communities within those camps, and taking whatever particular skill or talent or focus each camp offers, and learning and growing from that. I think that's wonderful for kids and families.
Sure, absolutely. Well, Jeff, this has been great. I'm going to put a link in the comments to your website, but can people talk just directly to you, or when they call Jefunira or talk, are you the person who will talk to a new family who's thinking about it for this summer?
I am. I'm still involved. When they dial the number, when they email, when they hit that chat box on the website, all of it comes to me. And I view my job very much today is making sure that parents feel comfortable. Parents
Great.
will often start to say, I'm sorry to ask you. Say, no, please don't apologize. That's my job, is to help you. Ask away. So if anyone has any questions, any of the avenues available for communication from Jefunira Camp are going to lead to me. And I'm happy to talk to anyone about the camp experience or Jefunira Camp.
That's awesome. Your accessibility and availability is so great. And the fact that you're also going to be playing tag with their kids is a really good thing to know. Jeff, thanks so much for coming on this series. And I hope lots of new families find out about Jefunira from this, and that you have just a terrific summer. So thanks for being on.
Well, you're welcome. And thank you for including me. And I wish the same to you. And I'm excited for your book to come out.
Thanks, Jeff. I'm going to end this here.